At the Canadian Centre for Cognitive Behavioural Therapy, we focus on a specific type of psychotherapy called cognitive behavioural therapy. Now, there are three main reasons why you might want to consider cognitive behavioural therapy as your therapy to try if you're seeking help soon. The first reason is that cognitive behavioural therapy has largely become the gold standard treatment for psychotherapies across a very wide range of disorders. The reason for this is that there's a strong evidence base to say that cognitive behavioral therapy has a good chance of being able to help you with what you're struggling with. This evidence, it comes from clinical trials, research studies done at academic institutions. It comes from data collected from large epidemiological data sets that look at how CBT has done at a population level. And by and large, the results are consistent that CBT has a strong empirical evidence base for it. Now, what this means is that you're not guaranteed to get full recovery from CBT, but what it means is that there's a very strong likelihood that you will experience a reduction of symptoms, an improvement in quality of life, and better functioning on an everyday basis for yourself. Again, nothing is guaranteed in therapy, but if you want to give yourself the best chance of getting recovery, cognitive behavioral therapy is a good choice. Now, some people wonder, why would I want to get cognitive behavioral therapy if I've already had CBT and I haven't achieved recovery? If you've already been through a therapy like CBT and you haven't experienced the results that you wanted, there's two main things to think about. Sometimes it might be worth trying another type of therapy, and there are a wide variety of other therapies that are out there. Sometimes it might be that the type of CBT that you received wasn't necessarily the most effective for you. And this is what happens when a therapy becomes very widely disseminated, like cognitive behavioral therapy, is you get people providing different types of the therapy. And so one thing you can also think about is maybe I try some other therapy modalities, find something that works for me. Maybe I look for a cognitive behavioral therapist who's going to be more well-versed in the type of CBT that's going to be beneficial for what I'm experiencing. And there's very significant differences in CBT for anxiety, CBT for depression, CBT for serious mental health conditions like bipolar disorder or psychosis, CBT for dissociation, CBT for trauma, CBT for relationship issues, CBT for life stress. We're going to take different approaches for all of those different conditions. And if your therapist isn't well versed in the cognitive model for that condition, then what you might find is that the results that you see were maybe not quite the results that we would hope for based on the research evidence. So it's not a reason to give up on CBT, but it is a reason to think about, do I find a therapist who's going to be very well versed in CBT in this specific area? And that brings us to the second reason to think about CBT, is that you do have a wide variety of choice in the number and type of therapists that you're going to find, because there's going to be a lot of people out there who have CBT training. That's part of the reason it's the gold standard. Part of what goes into most of our training programs is a lot of people are trained in CBT. You're going to have choice in terms of the therapist that you find. And we know two things from the psychotherapy research. One is that the type of therapy that you receive is important. Some types of therapy, like CBT, are going to be more effective than other types of therapy, especially for certain conditions. The second thing we know from the psychotherapy research is that the fit between you and your psychotherapist is incredibly important. You've got to have somebody that you trust, that you feel comfortable with, and that you feel like you have some sort of ability to work together. This doesn't mean that your therapist has to be your best friend. This doesn't have to be that your therapist is somebody that you would hang out with on a regular basis. What this means is that you have to have trust in your therapist, that they know what they're doing and that they're going to be able to help you. And in some other therapy modalities, you might not have a lot of variety in terms of who you can choose from. CBT you typically do. And so if you've narrowed down your search to cognitive behavioral therapy, the next step then is to think about, okay, Who's the therapist that I think I can trust with my mental health? Who's the therapist that I'm going to be able to open up to, trust that they aren't going to overreact, underreact, not going to have some sort of judgment that comes out, and somebody who's going to be competent in this therapy, that if I trust what they're telling me, it's going to lead me forward and not lead me astray. So you're going to have a wide choice. Definitely, as you're thinking about starting therapy, it's always a good idea to think about interviewing 2 or 3 therapists. Find the therapy modality, look at their profile, learn a bit about them, have a call with them, see what the fit feels like, and give it a try. I generally recommend that you try therapy for about 4 sessions before you make a decision as to whether it seems like it's going to work or not for you. 4 sessions is not usually enough time for any therapy to do a huge amount of benefit for you, but hopefully within 4 sessions you've started to get some benefit. If you do 4 sessions of CBT and you say, this is just not for me, this is not doing anything at all, or my therapist doesn't seem like they're as competent as I would like them to be, I wouldn't go past 4 sessions. You won't be recovered in 4, but you should have a good sense of whether this is going further. And if it doesn't seem like it's going further, it's a very good time to think about going back and thinking about, maybe I find a new therapist. Do I need to find someone who's got expertise in my specific area? Is this one of those situations where maybe I think about trying a different therapy modality if CBT wasn't really fitting? It's your choice at that point what you do. But from a starting point, I would say if you want the best chance of having positive outcomes, give CBT a try to start first. Find a therapist who you have trust in and who seems competent. Give it a try for 4 sessions. See if it's going to lead you where you want it to go, or at least the potential that it'll lead you where you want it to go. And then make the decision at that point. Do I jump in with both feet and give this a real solid try, or do I go back to the drawing board and see what else might work for me? The other big reason to think about CBT is you're going to actually have the opportunity to do some deeper work as well. And this is one of the misconceptions about CBT, is that CBT just focuses on the here and now, and it just focuses on what's going on a day-to-day basis. How do you cope with that, and how do you move through it? That is one of the widest misconceptions about CBT that could possibly be out there. In fact, if you are talking to a therapist who says that they do CBT and all they talk about is that CBT is going to help with coping strategies and it's going to help you get by every day, you're probably not working with a CBT therapist who has the full breadth of knowledge. That is certainly the big goal with CBT. CBT is a very action-oriented therapy. I always say with CBT, you want to be prepared to do things in between sessions. You know, if you think all CBT is going to be is coming 1 hour a week, talking for an hour, and that's going to be the thing that improves life for you, you're probably asking too much from any talk therapy. What we do hope for is that in that 1 hour a week, what we're creating is a new plan for you over the next week that you can try out. And as you try out that plan, you're going to decide, hey, this part of the plan's working, this part of the plan's working, this strategy's working, this one's not. And we're going to refine that plan every week when you come back. We're going to take the things that are working and build off of those. And the ones that aren't working, we're going to leave aside. Because why would you keep doing something that doesn't seem beneficial to you? And we're going to keep doing that until we have a plan in place where every day is better than the day before. And every week you're moving further and further towards where you want to be. That's a huge part of CBT, is that we want to make the future better for you than the present currently is. And who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want a better future for ourselves? The other part of CBT that a lot of people overlook is that a huge part of the cognitive model talks about how the things that we have experienced in the past, the things that we have done in the past, influence the point that we are at right now. And the things that have happened to us have shaped how we view the world and how we interact with the world, oftentimes for very good reasons. We've developed ways of keeping ourselves safe. We've developed ways of protecting ourselves. We've developed ways of trying to promote social relationships, trying to achieve the most that we can, whatever our goals are. We've developed those as a result of all the things that we've tried in the past that have worked or haven't worked, and all of the things that have happened to us over time. often by the time you're starting to think about therapy, some of those ways of understanding the world that you have developed are no longer serving you well. And this often happens when you were in a different situation previously than you are in now. So when growing up, the household environment that you were in is very different than the environment that you're in now. Or you were in a previous job and now you're in a new job that isn't necessarily with the same requirements or expectations. Or when leftover baggage from past relationships is carrying over into current relationships. These are all situations where you learn to understand the world in a specific way at a previous point in time that's no longer serving you well. And it's causing distress on a daily basis. It's causing you to do things potentially that are actually not helpful or potentially making things worse. It's causing emotions to come up because you have certain expectations that are no longer being met. And a huge part of CBT is working through why things right now are not the way you want them to be. And that involves going back to the past to understand that. But we don't stay in the past like some other forms of psychotherapy might. The way forward is not through the past, but we have to understand the past. We have to process the past. We have to know why I do the things right now that I do in order to make changes. And so we work on processing and understanding the events from our history to develop new strategies that we can apply in the here and now that are going to lead us to a more productive future that we want to have for ourselves. And in whatever way that looks like for you, whether that is career attainment, whether that is family relationships, whether that is school or education, whether that's personal development, whether it's recreation activities, whether it's making new friends or colleagues, whatever it might be. CBT is going to take that process of understanding where the current patterns developed from, making changes in the here and now so that the future can be what you want it to be. If CBT sounds like something that you're interested in, if it's something that you want to give a try and find out whether this could work for you, take a look at the link in the caption. You'll find more information on our website about cognitive behavioral therapy. You'll find lots of information about the wide variety of conditions that CBT can be used for. And you don't need a diagnosed mental health condition to get benefit from CBT either. CBT can be very helpful for life transitions, career attainment, anything that isn't going exactly the way that you want it to right now. And you'll find more videos here as well about how you can use CBT for these different conditions. We're going to be posting more and more videos of brief ways to understand different things that you might be going through, brief strategies that might be helpful, and then if you find those useful, might be worth seeking out a CBT therapist to give a try.